A strategy is a significant component of teaching and learning process. In the teaching and learning process, strategy is an activity that both the teacher and learner should engage in. In order for learning activities to become effective and efficient, of course, the teacher has the primary responsibility for developing a strategy that is followed by students in learning activities. The teacher's strategy should be capable of selecting appropriate strategy for teaching speaking to students. One of the reasons for successful strategy in the teaching learning process is how well students understand the material provided by teachers. I'm Aqilah, and I'll present about students' perception on the EFL teacher strategies in the teaching speaking. Well, there are 5 chapters that I present. First, introductions. Second, literature review. Third, methodology. Fourth, research discussion. And the final chapter is conclusion. Chapter 1, introduction. People perceive speaking as one of the most important skills. As an outcome, research on speaking is important to providing relevant stakeholders, particularly those involved in teaching speaking, with more insightful information about their students' perspectives, such as how to teach speaking or the possibly preferred teaching methods given to them. Noonan in 1999 has long confirmed that the proof of language mastery is typically characterized by the student's ability to communicate the language. And according to preliminary research, some students believe that the teacher's strategy for teaching speaking is boring, but many students believe that strategy is enjoyable. Moreover, teacher requires students' perceptions in order to determine how well the material is received by the students. Dikwi-Dianingsih and Robiasi contends that teachers can employ various teaching strategies to achieve teaching learning objectives. However, teachers are given opportunities to use a variety of teaching strategies to help students speak effectively. Student perception is essential to teacher strategies. A teacher's goal in teaching speaking is for students to succeed in public speaking. It is possible if the teacher's tactics are really effective. The success of students in public speaking is determined on the teacher's method of teaching public speaking. The research problems of this study are: what is the student's perception towards their English teachers' strategies in teaching speaking? This study used a qualitative method in the form of interviews and questionnaire with students of class 2019B English Education Program as the sample in this study with a total of 20 students. Chapter 2, Research Review. There are 2 researchers that related in this research. First, Mutad. Mutad did a second research in 2022. The study discovered that students prefer to have more engaging things to talk or connect with their peers during oral practice. They believe that even if they had a good or fascinating topic, they still required the teacher to help them with their speaking skills. Second, Husniati in 2010 did the third study. According to the findings of the study, students saw an improvement in their ability to speak English after being taught using cooperative learning approaches. This is demonstrated by pupils' ability to interact smoothly in groups, fully grasp the thoughts of peers, and actively engage in groups. And the last, from Aziza in 2022, In this study, various strategies to teach speaking such as small group discussions, games, and drilling strategy, and the student they appreciated the teacher's ideas for imparting skills. They may get some advantages from the tactics such as increased self-confidence in speaking up and expressing their thoughts. These researchers have revealed that there are several difficulties that teachers should consider while teaching speaking. Chapter 3 Methodology. The researchers did a qualitative descriptive investigation in this study because the explanation of this study involves students' impressions of the tactics utilized by the EFL instructor in learning speaking. Qualitative research is the most appropriate research method used for this research. The data in this study will be evaluated utilizing qualitative data process and in the form of qualitative descriptive data. Researchers gathered surveys as main sources. Researchers utilize interview findings as a secondary source. In qualitative research, the findings of interviews might take the form of considered as the most reliable source of information. This study was placed in classroom at Unica St. Paul Routing English Study Program Class 2019B. The researcher requested the subjects to participate for a variety of reasons, including all of the individuals in the questionnaire procedures were from the same class. All individuals were informed in advance that a questionnaire session would be held. The questionnaire was completed and collected by the researcher, and the researchers will next transcribe the evaluate the questionnaire results. Then, during the interview procedure, the researcher will conduct individual interviews with 5 students from the chosen class. During the observation and documentation phase, all individuals sat in the same room or class. All subjects were informed in advance that they would be recorded, following the transmissions of the recorded discussion to the researcher. And the findings of the recording will be transcribed and assessed by the researchers. And finally, the researchers employ 3 sorts of action in qualitative data analysis when assessing the data. There are data redaction, data presentation, and the conclusion drafting, and last, verification. Data redaction. From data redaction, in the first graph above, students prefer speak one by one and also prefer to discuss in group work in speaking. Students also prefer to have discussion with interesting topic when teaching speaking. Discussion strategy is preferred by students during teaching speaking. So, discussion strategy used by RFL teacher ineffective to students in teaching speaking. Data presentations in the second graph above shows that students prefer particular activities such as discussion group work to learn how to communicate, an interesting topic to help them learn how to speak, and conversation as a little platform for them to practice their oral skills. In truth, these 3 tasks are inextricably linked. An engaging topic, for example, should be done via group work rather than as a solitary oral presentations. Similarly, fascinating topics may make a group work discussion or conversation more interactive. Ya kok diam, kasihan. In conclusion, drafting from the third graph above, students prefer teachers who can speak English effectively, but they are also delighted to have professors who can help facilitate the learning process. Furthermore, they want someone who does not bluntly criticize student performance. And finally, an intriguing topic is still seen as highly significant by pupils while developing their skills speaking. Chapter 4, Racial Discussion. From the racial discussion, strategy is the best strategy used by EFL teacher in teaching speaking at University of Unica Santa Paulus, Butang. Based on the facts above, it is clear from the students' perceptions that the EFL teacher's discussion strategy is preferred by the students. That's because the strategy can assist pupils enhance their public speaking abilities. Furthermore, group conversations of intriguing themes are an effective technique for developing student speaking abilities. Based on the fact above, it can be concluded that student perspectives are mostly focused on engaging themes rather than technique, method, or strategy that demand them to speak one at a time. And finally, the last chapter, chapter 5, conclusion. Based on these findings, it can be concluded that the students of class 2019B of the English Education Study Program at Unica Santa Paul, Burton, has a positive perceptions. This is because they strongly agree with the discussion strategy used by the EFL teacher in teaching speaking. Students' perceptions of the data found showed that the discussion strategy used by the EFL teacher in learning speaking was able to improve their speaking skills. This is because the discussion strategy used by the teacher turned out to be influential in terms of improving student speaking skills. In addition, providing simple but interesting topic for students is more important than preparing expensive media. This can be proven that students prefer to have more practical conversations than complicated learning and teaching materials to support learning activities. However, they also think that interesting topics should be available to allow them to talk to their peers regardless of teaching methods, strategies, or techniques that the teacher can choose. Teachers are expected to focus on the strategies they use, which are found to be very influential for students when they practice speaking, such as discussion in groups and the determination of interesting material that might trigger students to effectively speak. I think that's for me. Thank you.